Sadly, boys, we have to come together for the news that's just shocked the world, shocked the cricketing world. Nikhil from GoDaddy is here. Rax, of course, from the Bharat Army is here. We've only just heard in the last couple of hours that Shane Warne, 52 years old only, has passed away. It's a suspected heart attack. That's all we know right now. In his villa in Koh Samui is where he was in Thailand. And it stopped me in my tracks. You know, when the news notification comes up, I just was like, what? Because, well, Shane's known for so many things. So I wanted to just get you guys together because this is rocking the whole cricketing world. It's rocking the whole sporting world. Nikhil, first of all, for you, I mean, what's your experience of Shane Warne? What do you know of him, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I mean, it's very shocking. As you mentioned, when I saw the picture of Shane Warne, I thought I am seeing something. He was talking about Rod Marsh in the morning on his Twitter handle, and I thought, it's the same thing. Like he's reposting, and then I read the news. He's made such an impact, and my experience, all the way back from between him and Tendulkar, right? When I think of cricket, early days, watching and spending some time, Tendulkar and him were really, the two kind of cricket heroes who were going at each other. But off the field, right, he was such a phenomenal guy. I had opportunity to, have some time spent during the Rajasthan Royal, his first season, where he uplifted this team and really won the kind of the underdog. And the guy had what a gifted cricketer, but off the field, he just had that energy and the charisma, and just be able to lighten them the room and lift young cricketers. Because when I think about the impact he's made on Indian cricket, especially, right? I mean, a lot of the young cricketers like Ravindra Jadeja, I mean, when they all started, I mean, he's the one who backed them up in IPL. And so it's really sad and shocking to see, a guy go so early, who's like, I would say, the best leg spinner we've probably seen in years. And he really brought that back to cricket, right? He brought that kind of art of leg spinning to young people to say, yeah, this is a great skill to have. This is a great, thing you can bring it to the team.
Yeah. And Rax, he obviously, as Nikhil said, he had a big impact on Indian players. But from the fans' point of view, he was a character. Indian fans will miss him, will love him.
Yeah, absolutely, Tommy. Not just Indian fans, right? Cricket fans all over the world. The people who love this sport, whether you're a fan or a player, these guys will really sort of, I guess, they could probably vouch for sort of the impact that someone like a Shane Warne has had on the sport that they love, the sport that they play, right? And if you think about, the legends of our game, you have, players who are generational players, right? That impact a generation of fans or a generation of players. And then you have legends of the game that go through generations. And Shane Warne is one of those players, right? Whether you started, watching and playing cricket in the generation where Shane Warne was playing, or whether Shane Warne was commentating, you still view him as a legend of the game. And I think that separates players like Shane Warne from everybody else, right? There are very few players that can say they go through generations, and Shane Warne is one of them.
Oh man, it's just stunned me. It makes you think, so young, in his early 50s, in good health as well. And I think it makes it very real because we're all in and around that age. And I think that's why it brings it home on a human level. This is a man who's leaving behind children, families like the rest of us. So it hits home, even if I'm just talking to people maybe who aren't fully aware of his cricketing career and all of his achievements and his character and personality and warmth and banter and fun, that he was so known for. But here, it's a dad. It's a dad that's leaving. And Nick, he is the kind of cricketer. He was all heart. He had, a lot of heart in his kind of character and his personality. And I think it was through that warmth that he's earned the love that he's got globally.
Certainly. I mean, I think, he was a perfect person. Like when he was on the field, right, he had that competitive spirit with him. And you could see it in the Tendulkar him rivalry. But when he's off the field, I mean, the person just had, as you said, it's full of heart, full of warmth. And really, I think the lifting part, which I don't think has been talked about a lot, right? But the impact he's made on a lot of young cricketers, especially after his retirement and when he started spending time in India, is phenomenal, right? I mean, you go and ask anybody, like you go to Rajasthan today and, people think of Shane Warne as a person from Rajasthan, right? This is one of ours. And, there's no other testimony to somebody who's established their presence and, and left their heart in people when they think of him as one of his own.
Yeah. Rohit Sharma's just tweeted. He says, I'm truly, and I think this is the word that everybody's using, which is lost for words, stunned, shocked. But he says, I'm truly lost for words here. This is extremely sad. An absolute legend and champion of our game has left us. Rest in peace, Shane Warne. I still can't believe it. And Harsha Bhogle, I know, had similar words as well. It's the shock element. It's the fact that it's just come, from nowhere, and it's just stunned us all. Rakesh, you've been following his career, all of his career. What will be his legacy? What does this man leave behind?
Yeah, I think if you think about sort of when he burst onto the scene as a leg spin bowler, there's very few bowlers pre Shane Warne that probably had the impact that he had. Leg spin bowlers, I would say. Obviously there's bowlers many years ago, particularly some of those Indian leg spin bowlers as well, right? But of recent eras, right? Shane Warne sort of, I guess, reset, the model of sort of what a leg spinner was all about. Very in your face, very aggressive, tremendous amount of skill, right? To be able to bowl the way he did, and just think about some of his most famous balls, that he got out, particularly during the Ashes when he played England, right? Just a phenomenal talent with a phenomenal amount of skill, So I think, more than that, actually, the character and the personality. If you think about sort of how Shane Warne became Shane Warne, his talent was just phenomenal. His ability, which is ridiculous at times. In terms of what he actually did with the ball, and I think because of that, the level of respect that he gained, from the players he played with, but also a lot of the players that are tweeting about him now probably didn't even play against him that much, but still hold him in so much regard for the person he is and what he brought to their sport, right? And I think that speaks volumes about, what I said earlier on about, the people that we call legends of our game. Sometimes people say that word is sort of too easily used. But let's make no mistake, we have lost one of the greats of the game that we all love, and I think that's why we're getting the kind of shocked reaction that we're getting around the world from not just people in our game, right? I saw a tweet from Gary Neville, who plays football, but yet even he sort of is expressing his shock and sadness, and I think that gives us an idea of sort of, the impact the individual had in the sport, but also, like I said to you, the shock of this news.
Yeah. What do you think is going on with Australian fans right now? How do you think they're feeling, Rex?
I mean, the only way I can really describe it, and I don't like to think of this, right, is if we'd lost one of ours, of similar ilk, how would we feel? Shane Warne was, and is regarded in that sort of category, right? So if we think about, the players that, mean the most to us as Indian cricket fans through our generations, right? And I'm not going to name names, but if we think about those type of players, that's the level of impact, that this kind of news would have. And a lot of them are still sleeping; they're not woke up yet, so they're in for a real shock. So it's really sad, right? And obviously from a Bharat Army perspective, our heart goes out to all of those sort of cricket fans, first of all around the world, especially Shane Warne's family, his friends, his close ones, and all those Australian fans who I'm sure, are going to be mourning, the loss of one of their greats for a long period of time.
Yeah. Nikhil, how will you remember Shane Warne?
Tommy, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm right now in India, and the question you asked, Rax, was like, actually, it's like almost Warne was one of Indians, right? And so imagine what the impact, the shock the Australians would have, right? Because I was just out there, and like everybody is just talking about this, like the shocking thing, and why and what, and just and so that really tells you the impact the man has made. And I think his biggest legacy, in my mind, at least to the Indian cricket, is the world cricket. Of course, Australia is is the heart and soul for him, but to the Indian cricket, as Rax was saying, I think, like, I'll tell you, my younger son, who's never actually ever seen him play, talks about him, right? I mean, so he's crossed decades of generation, and that's the biggest impact anybody can leave, right? About what the man was about.
No, brilliant. Nikhil, Rakesh, thank you so much. On behalf of Bharat Army, GoDaddy, myself, Tommy Sandhu podcast, and all the team here, we are truly at a loss. Rest in peace, Shane Warne, an absolute legend.